Okay, hey, this is G.Love of G.Love and Special Sauce, and we're on the True Philadelphia podcast with my man Matt O'Donnell.
We got the juice, we got the love, we got the drink, we won't give up, we are the change, we had enough, we got the juice, time's up.
Even though he now lives with his family in Cape Cod, Massachusetts, the musician born as Garrett Dutton, but known worldwide as G.Love, is still through and through a true Philadelphian. He was born and raised in this town, and he spent hours on the streets playing to passers-by, honing his blues and hip-hop sound that would become known as Philadelphonic. G.Love is back with his backing band Special Sauce to release The Juice, their 9th album. You're listening to the lead track, The Juice, which will play in full at the end of this podcast. G.Love was in town to perform at World Cafe Live in University City and had some spare time before his air check to join me and record this podcast interview. He talks about his present, his past, the new album, and we have a special surprise for him. G.Love, right now in the True Philadelphia podcast.
You can feel it in the streets, from your hands to your feet, and from sea to shining sea.
Here with G.Love, getting his coffee. Thank you, Mike.
Thanks,
Mike, you're your public relations person. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How you doing, Matt?
Great. Welcome back to Philadelphia.
Thank you. It's great.
Like you never left.
Yeah, except just a bunch of miles down the turnpike.
So we're in the WXPN studios, and you're doing a release party at the World Cafe Live. We're going to be talking to you about that. But first, just a random question here. What is G.Love loving these days?
Whoa, G.Love is loving, well, I mean, I'm loving my family these days. And, actually, I know it sounds cliche, but I really am loving my new record. It's, you work hard on these things for many years, and then you don't really know what's going to happen until you start getting it out there. Yeah. And, of course, it's pretty cool because we're just kind of in the initial stages of doing press and radio, and there's real favorable, response to the record. And, I've done this a lot of times now in my career, done record releases, and you can kind of tell when you got a good one and people are giving a little love. So I'm loving a new record.
It's called The Juice, releasing in January of 2020. And I'm just going to read a quote that I found from you describing the album. Well, you tell me. You say it is something that could empower the folks who are out there fighting the good fight every day. That sounds like someone who is from Philadelphia saying it.
Hey, yeah, man. Rocky, man. Boom. Yeah, man. This record has kind of two sides to it. One's very kind of personal side about our family and our life, and then the other side is really kind of about our world and, the atmosphere of where our society and our culture's at right now, and I think I was really trying to kind of spread a message, spread a lot more love, bring a lot more love with this record, and kind of give some energy and a rallying cry to people out there in the trenches, trying to make this world a better place.
So you say you can tell this one's a good one. When you say that, is it because of people's reaction or you listening to it when the master is done?
Oh, well, I mean, I like everything that I do.
So modest.
No, that's just personal preference. I'm not saying it's great. I'm just saying I like it. But, typically when you going through your own creative process, the writing, the recording, and the mixing and everything, you have to stay hyped and you have to really love something to take it through all these phases, right? To get it just simply out of your room and to your band is a big one, for instance. But no, it's more just like people. I don't know. It's just it's starting a small kind of like little wave. It's like that starts with people that don't usually compliment you being like, hey man, this is actually pretty good.
When they say actually, that's when they really mean it.
This is actually pretty good. Thanks.
I listened to the lead track, and it is just vintage G.Love. It really, it's fun.
Yeah, it's fun. And then you have just kind of people come up to you unsolicited and say, "Hey, man, I heard your new stuff, and it's awesome, and I love the videos." And then you're thinking, what's going on here? You know, because if people didn't, I didn't come up and ask you, "Hey, Matt, how do you like my new stuff?" You know.
Sure.
So it's cool when people just come up. So yeah, that's pretty cool. So we got our fingers crossed, and I think we got something good. We worked hard on it, and I guess we should talk about it. Keb Mo is the producer, and that's kind of a huge part of the story. Keb Mo and I got signed in 1993 when I was 20, and he was my age. I'm 47, and we both together relaunched this record label called OK Records through the Epic Records, Sony Records umbrella. And it was, OK Records was like a, quote, race records, meaning that they put out records of African Americans in the 30s, because, of course, in the 30s and well past that, music, like everything else, was segregated. So there was these tiny little black stations, and so OK Records, which we relaunched, actually released one of Robert Johnson's early recordings.
Wow.
Robert Johnson, the most kind of mysterious and famous of all the Delta bluesmen. The
guy who did the pact with the devil.
That's right, yeah. And, of course, Eric Clapton made his song Crossroads famous, and then there was the movie Crossroads. But anyhow, Keb and I kind of reconnected about 5 years ago for a tour, and then I asked him, would you produce a record? And actually, I said, Keb, you want to do a duet record? And he goes, gee, I already shot my duet record load. I did the Taj Mahal record. I did a Taj Mahal record, which they won like every award possible. But sure. But he said, hey man, come down to Nashville, and we could do see what it's like to work together. And so that started the journey, and we started writing songs, and we did the whole record together. So it was pretty unique like that. Like over the course of 3 years, I'd go down to Nashville, and we would take 2 or 4 or 5 days and write some songs, make demos, and then and Keb is very meticulous. You
probably are too.
I'm not.
No?
No. Actually, it's funny because we have the same birthday, October 3rd, so we're both Libras, so we can't make up our mind. Hey, Keb.
That's the scales, right?
Yeah.
Just this way and that way.
Keb, you want Burger King or McDonald's today? I don't know, G. I love that flamboyant taste, but damn, Keb, the Big Mac's pretty good. Yeah, the Big Mac is pretty good. But damn, I know what you're saying about that flamboyant taste, baby, that Impossible Whopper. Like we can't.
It's impossible to get anything done when you can't even make a decision on a hamburger.
That's right. But he's really a meticulous guy, and so every note, every lyric, every piece of music was placed on every beat, every vocal performance, everything had to be purposeful, for a reason. It had the right feeling behind it. It had to be correct musically. It was essentially a master class in not only the blues but in music.
Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to hearing the whole album. Again, it's in January of 2020. I want to take you back, and you mentioned 1993. Let's go to 1994. That was when your debut album was released, and it just really, exploded across the country, and it started, great things for you. What was it like that year, for you and for the band? I mean, what were your hopes and what were your plans?
Right. So in 1994, right, in that spring, the record came out. So I will tell you this: it started off pretty rocky because we finished the record in December of '93.
Okay.
And so we had a 1-month rental on this killer loft down in Old City, which at that time was still kind of
not so great.
Right. Well, no, I mean, it was pretty cool, but it was just people were starting to move to Old City, then Northern Liberties, then Fishtown, blah blah. So it was hip, you know what I mean? And so we had this loft, and the last night of our 1-month lease was New Year's Eve. So and I was 20. We had the biggest New Year's Eve party that Philadelphia, that the inner city kids of Philly had ever seen at that point, and people still talk about it now. And for me, it was the worst night of my life because it was actually my neighbor's apartment, and we trashed it. I counted 869 cigarette burns in the carpet. So New Year's Day 1994 started off rocky with me standing at the corner of 2nd and Lombard in my robe trying to call steam cleaners to get this apartment clean.
Did you actually count every single one? You said 869?
No, we didn't. The owners did. Okay. So that's how 94 started, but it finished better. But, yeah, the record came out later that year, and man, you know, I don't know. Like I said, I was a kid, and it was just like game on. You know, it was like we were street musicians, and then in Boston, we played the bars. 9 months after we put the band together, we were down in Philadelphia recording. We got a record deal. We went from making no money to having a huge amount of money, and signing to, you know, essentially Sony Records, one of the biggest corporations in the world, and you know, hitting the road in a van, and in one van, and just, you know, driving, and then it just started, and you know, we haven't stopped driving since, basically. So, but it was a spin out for sure. It was like, you know, like we probably did 250 shows that year.
In 94. Yeah,
and you know, it was just like game on, and you know, I mean, I don't know how we did it, but and you know, and then of course it became and then on a more serious note, like it became a lot. There was a tremendous amount of pressure. Like all of a sudden, you went from being invisible to like people pushing you out there. I'll never forget walking into the Tower Records on
Broad Street,
on South Street.
Okay,
and you know, this is where I grew up, and like walking into Tower Records and seeing like the whole front CD case, like, you know, new release with my face on it, and I was like really insecure about the picture on the cover of the record, and I was
you should have picked it, right?
I didn't. I didn't pick that cover. Now I think it's a great classic record cover, but
it's very candid.
Yeah, at the time I was terribly embarrassed by it. And I was terribly embarrassed by walking into Tower Records off South Street and like seeing my face there. I walked right out. So there was a lot of stuff like that, like, you know, it's a lot, and there was a lot of pressure, like, you know, having just putting yourself out there, and then, you know, and then once you put yourself out there, you get reaction, and some of it's a lot of love, and some of it's a lot of hate. So it was.
Got a lot of love. G.Love got a lot of love.
We did get a lot of love, but it was also, we got a lot of, you know, at the time, in the early 90s, you know, things were different. And hip-hop was still kind of in its cocoon. Before.
Yo MTV Raps was still going on, right?
Yeah, like hip-hop was a very much still like an African-American art form about the African-American experience, and we were three white kids playing, you know, basically garage rock and roll and rapping. And so that in itself was spinning people out, and then also we were hailing the blues, and that was another thing. How can a, you know, white kid from, you know, Society Hill in Philadelphia play the blues? Like, what gives you the right? You know what I mean? And then there was a lot of stuff like that. So it was, and then at the same time too, the shit was blowing up, but we didn't even know it because, you know, you
so busy.
You have your head down and you're in a van, and you know you're sleeping in the bed next to your drummer. So it's not like we made, you know, it's not like we were like staying at the Ritz-Carlton. It's like we were driving around in a tour bus yet.
Was anyone snoring?
I mean, I probably was. I don't know.
You never know if you snore because you're asleep, right?
Yeah, that's right, unless you wake yourself up.
Listen, I have a surprise for you. I'm really looking forward to this, okay? So first of all, I have a gift for you. That's not the surprise. Okay. Hold on, I'm just going to go get the gift.
Oh, wow.
Okay. G.Love, this is your official Action News morning mug, all right? There you go. So what do you think?
I think it's freaking awesome. What's I can what?
You know, everything
What's the Action News tune again?
Move closer to your world, my friend.
No, but how does the melody go on there?
Dun 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 dun. Ba-da-ba-da-ba.
Yes, man. Thank you.
Everything tastes much better when you put it in that.
I think I'm gonna go ahead.
Yeah, pour it in there. All right, because I got to get your surprise. Okay. All right, here we go. Wow. This is gonna be great. What? All right, but first of all, I got to show you a picture, and I'm gonna post this on all my social media accounts. Okay. But take a look at this picture. I'm gonna show it to them over here first, and then there's the picture. Okay, GoPro camera sees that. You recognize yourself, right?
Oh, yeah.
The guy in that Hawaiian shirt.
Chef, my drummer, yeah. Is that you?
That's my brother, Sean.
No way.
My brother, Sean, was, he ran your fan club for Michigan or something like that.
No way.
Yes. So here's the surprise.
Okay.
Got a guitar case here. This is Sean's guitar.
Wow.
It's not a gift, but he loved you so much, and still does, that he bought the same guitar that you have. Explain what it is.
Well, it's out of tune right now. But,
no, it's definitely out of tune.
Wow, that's really cool. I will say I wish it was a gift or for sale. I would buy it right now. But
it's a Crucianelli Elite, right?
Yes. So right. So I had bought this same guitar, not this guitar, but
in the same color too, right? Blue.
Yeah, and the same guitar with some slight variations. But it was sitting in the window of Cambridge Music in Boston, and I went by and I saw it. How much is that doggy in the window? And I had $25 in my wallet. I put $25 down on it, and then I came back with my Squier Telecaster that I had bought here in Philadelphia, 8th Street Music on Arch Street, and traded that in plus another $100. And so for $250, basically, I got this guitar, and this guitar really kind of became the backbone for my guitar tone and my sound. And I ran it through an Ampeg Rocket Reverb 2 amp, and it was the sound, and it had a look too. So if you do check out the first record cover, you'll notice that the front of it or the back of it rather, is Blue Sparkle, which is actually a photo of this Blue Sparkle, right? And then on the inside, you can see what we call the mother of toilet seat, which is plastic mother of pearl.
So he wants you to sign it. Can you sign it?
Oh no! And then I also see here the G.Love.
Oh yeah, that's his cassette tape.
So this is really cool too, because so this was this is not the original pressing, but this was the first pressing was 250 copies and the stickers on it, and that was when I went to this. I had made this record, and then I went to the recording dupe place in Revere, Massachusetts, which is pretty rough back in the day, and they said, well, what do you want to call it? And I said, call it G.Love, oh yeah. And that was the first time I called myself G.Love. And so
you just came up with that out of nowhere, right?
Yeah, I just came up with it on the spot. I was like, because I was going by Crazy G. And then I was
for Garrett, which is your real name.
Yeah, so it was Crazy G, and then I was the foot stomping street side blues of Garrett Dutton. And then, so this was the first thing I called myself G.Love,
So the funny thing is this is actually a cheap guitar, but it's not made anymore because I think it was an accordion company from Italy, and they weren't selling accordions anymore, so they started making guitars. Right. And through serendipity, you got one of these, and then my brother got one, and he shipped it out to me just to have you sign it because he's such a big fan.
So yeah, man, this is kind of the Italian answer to the Fender Jaguar. Yeah. And it's pretty cool because it has these
are pickups, right?
Yeah, so these are pickups. So I would use the all setting. So that's all, right? That's all the pickups. And then you have treble, bass and treble. And then you have off. And it's a terrible design if you care to know about it. It's just basically plastic nubs with a little connector on there. So with sweat and stuff, they get all corroded. So eventually we hardwired just to switch. But But these guitars are cool, and these pawn shop guitars have a lot of history, and they have a unique. They're all different. They're all like pretty unique instruments because of how they've been treated over the years, and they're all weird designs, and they look really cool. And yeah, I used mine on the road for 20 years. Now it's kind of retired, but I'll sign it.
Yeah. You want to do it right now? Yeah, let's do it live on the podcast. I think that should be a good color.
On the front or on the back?
I think back would be fine. Yeah. Now, I'm going to let you think. This is really cool. My brother's going to be so happy.
I hope he wants it on the back. You think he wants it on the back, or you think he wants it on the front?
The back is fine.
Okay. Cool.
I think you have to go. One more question? Yeah, one more question. So take us back to the street performing in Philadelphia. Why did you do it, and why did it end and you have to go to Boston?
Okay. So Philadelphia was great. I grew up on 2nd and Pine, so right down by South Street. So I grew up in the 70s, and it was such a vibrant culture around South Street, and tons of art, tons of music, tons of street musicians. There was jugglers. There was a guy that played the Mozart on the wine glasses. There was a puppeteer that had like a Jimi Hendrix and a Janis Joplin and Elton John puppets, and he would play Purple Haze and dance the puppet, the marionette. And then there were street musicians. So it was natural. There's another guy who was like from a bygone era. His name was Big Al, and he had no teeth. He's this old Irish guy or whatever, or maybe he's Italian. But he'd sit on a milk crate. He'd play the spoons and play the harmonica. So when I was a kid, my dad would say, "Hey, give him a quarter," And so all these things were happening. So it was kind of when I started getting into my music. One night we just started going out on the street and playing, and then one night we had like $20 and change, and we're like 16. And we're like, yeah. And then I got serious about it, and then throughout high school I would say, hey, to my guys, I'd say, hey, let's go play on the street. Oh no, we're going to Mount Airy. There's a cake party in the woods. All right, well I'm gonna go play on the street. So I got into it, and it was the first gig. But as I got serious about it, Philadelphia, it's technically illegal.
Yes.
So you could and would oftentimes get asked to by the fine policemen of Philadelphia to evacuate the area. And so anyways, I moved to Boston because in Boston you could do it with a permit, and it was kind of a thing. But I will say I made a lot more money in Philadelphia.
People are more generous here.
I guess so. People are a little tight up there.
You have to do a sound check.
Okay.
Long live G.Love and Special Sauce. Thanks so much for your time, G.
Hey, thanks, Matt. Thanks to everybody out there. And keep on rocking, baby.
I got chest.
No more lies about this, no more lies about that. No more ace up your sleeve, please just lay your cards flat. See our streets had it rough when the struggle is tough. Bad news on the news every day, it's enough to make good people turn around and leave. How about we march in the street, cause we raise our fists in the air, cause we do care. You say who cares? We do. We got the juice, we got the love, we got the drink. We won't give up. We are the change. We had enough. We got the juice. Time's up. Divided you fall, united we rise. It's been hard to see through all these tears in our eyes. So why do we cry when teardrops they stain? Just like Cat Stevens, we ride a peace train. Oh, let us be real. You must be insane in your brain. Something's wrong, so you cannot remain. We need positive change. We will not regress. Power to the beast, but we must progress. We got the juice. We got the love. We got the dream. We won't give up. We are the change. We had enough. We got the juice. Time's up. So let's get loose, baby. Let's get lifted. Something going on now. You sure don't wanna miss it. You can feel it in the streets, from your hands to your feet, and from sea to shining sea. to a song. If something's not right, then it must be dead wrong. For the birds and the bees, the mountains and trees, every single person's sanity. Humanity's all of us, colors, all kinds. We want world peace and we want peace of mind. We don't want war, we don't need more guns. We want a better world for our daughters and sons. We got the juice, we got the love, we got the dreams. We won't give up. We are the change. We had enough. We got the juice. Time's up. Time's up. Time's up. Time's up. Time's up.
Thanks to G.Love. Best of luck with his new album, which was released on January 17th, 2020. My brother will be so happy to see his G.Love style Crucianelli Elite guitar sent back in one piece with G.Love's signature on the back. I'm Matt O'Donnell, and this is the True Philadelphia Podcast.